Gosh, I certainly learned a lot just from that presentation. Thank you very, very much. Our next speaker is Russ Parman, who is Director of, Mission Assurance, for Northrop Grumman. As you can tell, this organization has a broad and very wide and wonderful reputation in our community, of which we should be very, very proud. So, Russ, may I invite you to the podium for a few words? Thank you.
So I'm going to start off by saying I don't know when Eric started.
1981.
So it was a little bit after me, because I started my career after being arrested for shoplifting. And my first year or so was in building 162, and it was a juvenile detention center. Watch out, we'll put you down. No, in all seriousness, first I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today and helping us recognize the rich history that Silicon Valley has. Before it was known as Silicon Valley, there were many, many important things to our nation's freedom and security that went on and continue to go on to this day. When I started work in 1980, there were three, I'm sure there were more, but the three big defense companies in the Bay Area here were Lockheed, Westinghouse, and if you remember FMC, the Food Machinery Corporation over by the airport. Each one of those companies now is still existing in some capacity under slightly different names. Lockheed is Lockheed Martin, Westinghouse is Northrop Grumman, and FMC is BAE Systems. It's interesting how things just move ahead. I'd be willing to bet that there have been literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that have driven down Hendy Avenue and driven right past our plant and wondered what the heck is going on, over there. We kind of like the fact that people don't know what we do there necessarily. I mean, if you want to know, we're glad to tell you. But at the same time, we don't go flapping around and saying, "Hey, come look at what we're doing there." Our mission is one of significance and importance to our country's defense and security. What we do there is very vital to the U.S. Navy. We're recognized as a national asset by the U.S. Navy, and I think we're going to be doing the kinds of things that we do for the Navy in that facility for a long time. The men and women of the U.S. Navy depend on what we do, and they depend on what we do to be done correctly. There's not an individual anywhere in our plant, I don't believe, that you could find that doesn't take what they do very, very seriously. They understand that when our equipment does not function right, that people's lives are in danger, and that message is sent loud and clear every day throughout our facility. People understand what they work on is important, and they take it very serious. I was asked to come here today to talk a little bit about more of our current day history and the things that we have going on today. Currently, we have about 1,300 employees at the facility. This includes design engineers, scientists, machinists, welders, tradespeople, financial analysts, business professionals, and program managers. We design, build, and stand behind everything we make. We design everything that we make, we manufacture it, produce it, and then we support it throughout its entire life cycle. Yes, we still make pretty much everything that we deliver in that facility. We do subcontract some parts. They're also contracted to U.S. companies. But most of what we deliver, we actually build from steel plates, castings, and wrought material. Since I joined that company in 1980, the types of things that we've worked on, and there have been, like you mentioned, a wide variety of things. There have always been, if you will, kind of the foundational missile launching and handling product lines and propulsion power generation lines, which are still there today. But we've also worked on things like we developed an intercooled recuperated gas turbine engine, taking a Rolls-Royce engine and developing that in a very efficient, fuel-efficient manner for use in Navy surface ships, and that system is being used today by the UK Royal Navy. We developed with some teaming arrangements with other companies the production of diesel engines for U.S. Coast Guard applications. If you've ever heard of ice cutters, some of those ships are out there in diesels. We designed and built product for the Tullahoma Wind Tunnel. We had a lab. If anyone here has ever been over to the Great Mall in Milpitas, before the Great Mall of Milpitas was there, we actually had a lab on that site where we developed an electromagnetic railgun. If you remember back in the Reagan days, this thing of Star Wars of defeating one another's satellites in outer space, we actually worked on, developed, and did a lot of science related to how to develop a very high velocity projectile using an electromagnetic pulse. And it was done right there at that site. We worked on things such as particle accelerators. I don't know if anyone remembers a project that was planned to be in Waxahachie, Texas, a big particle accelerator underground called the Superconducting Supercollector. We worked on product for that project for a number of years. It was eventually canceled by the Department of Energy. We worked on a fusion energy science project. This was at Princeton University. There is a tokamak fusion reactor at Princeton. They're one of the world's leaders in fusion technology. And we took on a contract from the Department of Energy to design and manufacture some prototype superconducting magnets for that tokamak fusion reactor. That was a lot of fun. We've also worked on the development of electromagnetic aircraft launching systems for aircraft carriers and arresting gears for the same class of carriers. But as I mentioned earlier, today our mainstays are really in missile launching and handling and in propulsion power generation. We've been involved with the U.S. and the UK Navy with what's referred to as the Fleet Ballistic Missile Launching System since the beginning of the Polaris program. And that's, as Eric touched on this, that has progressed from the Polaris missile through the Poseidon missile to the current Trident missiles that are out there today. Lockheed Martin is responsible for the missiles, and we're responsible for the launcher systems. Every missile launch that's ever been made vertically from an underwater submarine has been launched from something designed and built by our company here in Sunnyvale. That's something we're very proud of. And as Eric pointed out, we've never had a failure in service. Not one since 1956 when the first launches were made. We're currently working on the replacement for the Ohio-class submarine and developing the launcher systems that will eventually go on that ship. I see Steve Koenig sitting in the audience. He's one of the engineers, I believe, that is working on that hardware today. Our other primary business area is propulsion power generation. Every attack class submarine that is in the fleet today since the Los Angeles class carries our propulsion system. Very quiet propulsion system, very efficient. It's comprised of 2 steam turbines that take steam from the nuclear reactor plant and turn shafts through a very quiet gear reduction system that turn the propulsor. And the reason why we actually can boast, this country can boast, that we do have the quietest submarines in the world is really the technology that goes into that turbine set and that gear reduction system. The machinery that we have in the plant to grind those gears to extreme precision is unparalleled by anyone, anywhere in the world. Our newest ship service turbine generators, in addition to the propulsion for submarines, we also provide the power generators that produce the electricity that's consumed on those submarines. The current design of the ship service turbine generators utilizes an electromagnetic technology that the spinning turbine, rotor, and generator, the entire spinning mass or rotating mass, is suspended in an electromagnetic field. So there's no bearings, there's no oil loop system. It's all spinning in an electromagnetic field, not touching a single thing. And it's all done with sensors. Actually, a sensor system very similar to some of the sensor systems that are used in current technology automobiles and suspension systems, where they are measuring feedback from very, very dynamic situations and then making adjustments to the controls that determine when to move things in a certain direction. We're continuing this technology into the next class of submarines, the Ohio replacement, as I mentioned earlier, and we'll be building the propulsion systems for those submarines as well. We currently have a huge backlog of work at the plant. We have got work on books that will take us at least 10 to 20 years down the road. So I suspect as a thriving manufacturing facility and organization and engineering organization, we're going to be around for a while. The footprint or the installed base of machine tools and things that we have in that facility are extremely difficult to move. So I think that I can rest assured to say the place is not going anywhere anytime soon. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. I certainly feel honored to be asked to talk. I'm sure I have not done the duty, the service that it probably requires. I mean, I've only been here 35 years. The place has been here over 100. But I would like to ask, by show of hands, how many people in this room have actually worked or currently work at that plant? I'm sure there are plenty. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming out. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take a question. I'm sure Eric would be happy to take a question. Or if you'd like to just approach one of us afterwards, we'd be happy to talk with you as well. Thank you very much. Was there a question?
I'd like to personally thank all of you for coming today and invite all of you to try and get over to the Hendy Museum and see it. It is fascinating. We took a group from our museum a few years ago over there, and it was terrific. So I encourage you to take advantage of not only our museum, but their museum, the Hendy Ironworks Museum. It's fascinating, fascinating. Again, thank you all for coming. Please feel free to help yourself to the food back there. And if you have, like I said earlier, if it's your first time here, you're welcome back anytime. And if this is a repeat visit for you, thank you very, very much for your support. Thank you.